All right, it's 9 o'clock. Let's go ahead and get started. First case in the docket, LaGrasta. Nobody is present for that case. I'm going to move on to the next one. Morning, Mr. Chan. Is that the applicant sitting next to you?
Yes, Judge, good morning.
Yes,
All right, then let's go ahead and get started. We're on the record in 22 CPR 038325, Estate of May Chai Sun. If I could have the applicant raise his right hand to be sworn by the court. Do you
yes,
solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony provided here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
yes, I will.
Mr. Chan, you may take it from here.
Okay, thank you, Judge. Please tell the court your name.
Robert L. Sun, S-U-N.
And you file application to probate your wife's will, is that correct?
Yes,
Your wife, May Chi Sun, passed away on April 17th of 2022
yes,
at the age of 74 in Fort Bend County, Texas.
yes,
And she left a valid will dated January 30th, 2019.
yes,
Is that correct? And this is copy. Can you identify this document?
yes,
Is that her last will and testament?
yes,
Okay. And do you recognize her signature?
yes.
Okay. And after she signed the will, was the will ever revoked or canceled?
No,
And was she divorced?
no,
And did she have any children after she signed the will?
no,
And your name as the executor in the will, is that correct?
yes,
And you're not disqualified to serve in that capacity. Is that
No.
correct? And are there any Medicaid benefits received by her?
no,
Okay. And you're asking the court today to admit the will to probate and issue letters of testament, is that right?
yes,
That's all I have, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Chan. Court heard the testimony of Robert L. Sun. He testified as to the proof of death, validity of the will, and other facts. The court will admit the will to probate and appoint Mr. Sun as an independent executor to serve without bond, and appraisers will be waived as well. Mr. Sun, I'm very sorry for your loss.
thank you.
All right, Mr. Chan, anything further for the record?
No, sir. Good morning. Thank you, Judge.
Y'all have a great day.
Yeah, just go ahead and click on them. It'll take you to the app. We'll open it up. Open.
Good morning, Your Honor. We have our applicant signing in right now.
Okay.
Just asking for the meeting ID. We need the meeting ID number.
You shouldn't need a meeting ID. It just has the link that they sent us. Did
Yeah,
that link
yeah.
not work?
No, well, the link, it asks us to sign in, we sign in, but then it's asking us to join meeting. We click join meeting and it says enter meeting ID.
Let me see if I can ask the staff. Be right back.
I wouldn't. That's not working. You couldn't even sign in.
Miss Ayala, is there a meeting ID number that I can give?
Oh, technology, it's great when it works.
And there is none.
Yeah.
What are you looking?
You would just forward
What
them.
was it, Harry? What was it you said that I looked at?
Harry Hamlin.
Resend the link, Annie, to him and then see if that works.
Yes, Judge.
We'll come back to you, Mr. Nguyen.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sorry about that.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning. All right, I think we've got everybody connected, Mr. Doggett. Let's go ahead and get started. We're on the record in 22 CPR 038540, estate of Paul Allen Jacob. All those who intend to testify, if you would raise your right hand to be sworn by the court. Do each of you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you provide here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Lower your hands. Mr. Doggett, you may take it from here.
Thank you, Judge. I call Matthew Allen Jacob. Are you Matthew Allen Jacob?
I am.
And was your father Paul Allen Jacob?
He is. He was.
And your father passed away on October 6, 2022 in Fort Bend County, Texas.
Yes, sir.
And at the time of his death, he was residing in Fort Bend County, Texas.
Yes, sir.
And to your knowledge, did your father die without revoking his will, which is dated August 20th, 2020?
Yes.
And did your father have any children born to him or adopted by him after he executed his will?
No, sir.
And at the time he executed his will, was he of sound mind, at least 18 years old?
Yes, sir.
And did he have a marriage dissolved after he executed his will?
No, sir.
And it hasn't been 4 years since his date of death, correct?
It has not been. Yes.
And did he leave anything to the state of Texas or any charity in his will?
No, sir.
And there is a necessity for the administration of his estate, correct?
Yes, sir.
And your father's will appoints your brother Paul Nicholas Jacob and you as the independent co-executors.
Yes, sir.
And there's no reason why you and your brother cannot serve as the independent co-executors, correct?
No, sir.
And Judge, I can, with your permission, I'll share the will and ask him to identify.
You may.
Okay, Matt, on the screen there, do you see a copy of your father's last will and testament?
Yes, sir.
And on page, looks like page 3, is that your father's signature?
Yes, it is.
Judge, that's all we have. I asked the will be admitted to probate and that Paul, let's see, what's the full name?
Paul Nicholas
Paul
Jacob.
Nicholas Jacob.
Paul Nicholas Jacob and Matthew Allen Jacob be appointed as independent co-executors without bond and that appraisers be waived.
Does the other applicant want to say anything? He
I'll
doesn't.
just briefly call him. Are you Paul Nicholas Jacob?
I am.
And do you agree with the answers that your brother just gave us?
Yes, I agree.
Okay. That's all I have, Judge.
All right, the court heard the testimony of Matthew Allen Jacob and Paul Nicholas Jacob. They testified as to the proof of death, validity of the will, and other facts. The court will admit the will into probate and appoint both Matthew Allen Jacob and Paul Nicholas Jacob as co-executors of the will to serve without bond, and appraisers will be waived as well. Very sorry for y'all's loss.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Doggett, anything further for the record?
No, Your Honor.
All right, y'all are free to go. Have a great day.
You too.
Great. Thank you.
You as well. Thank you.
Start my video. There we go.
Mr. Mummy, do you have your client there with you? Is that her in the background?
I have Miss Bickham here with me.
Okay, very good. Let's go ahead and get started then. She may have to come closer to your computer just to make sure we can pick up her audio. We're on the record in 22 CPR 038563, estate of Jane Ann Bickham. Miss Bickham, if you'd raise your right hand to be sworn by the court. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you provide here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Mummy, you may proceed. She may need to come around because I could barely hear her when she responded to my question. Or
Okay.
speak as loud as she can.
Is that better? Is that better?
That's better.
Proceed.
Okay, Judge. All right, state your name for the record.
Brenda Ann Bickham.
And did your mother, Jane Ann Bickham, die on October 25th, 2022 in Sugar Land, Fort Bend County, Texas?
Yes.
Was your mother 80 years old at the time of her death, and 4 years have not elapsed since that time?
Yes.
Was your mother domiciled and have fixed residence in Fort Bend County at the time of her death?
Yes.
And Judge, I asked the court to take judicial notice that the will that's been filed with the court is an original document.
Court shall take judicial notice.
All right, Brenda, I'm going to show you this document, which is a copy of the document that was filed. You recognize this document as your mother's last will and testament signed on March 7th, 2011.
Yes.
As far as you know, was it ever revoked?
No.
And was your mother married at the time of her death?
She was not married.
All right. And were any marriages dissolved after the date of the will?
No.
Were any children born to or adopted by your mother after the date of the will?
No.
Does a necessity exist for the administration of her will?
Yes.
The will names your brother Blake Richard Bickham and you, Brenda Ann Bickham, as co-independent executors, and your brother has declined to serve and agrees to allow you to serve as the sole independent executor without bond. Is that right?
Yes.
Are you disqualified by law from serving as the independent executor or from accepting letters testamentary?
No.
Is the state of Texas or a charity named as a beneficiary under the terms of your mother's will?
No.
As far as you know, are there any debts owed by the estate?
No.
As far as you know, is this a taxable estate?
No.
And are you asking the court to waive appraisals?
Yes.
I pass the witness, Sean.
All right, the court heard the testimony of Brenda Ann Bickham. She testified as to the proof of death, validity of the will, and other facts. The court will admit the will into probate and appoint Ms. Bickham as independent executrix to serve without bond, and appraisers will be waived as well. Ms. Bickham, I'm very sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Mr. Mummy, anything further for the record?
No, Your Honor.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Connolly. Is that your client next to you?
Yes, this is Mr. NATO right here.
All right. Let's go ahead and get started then. We're on the record in 22 CPR 038521, the state of Sherry M. NATO. Mr. Nathan, if you'd raise your right hand to be sworn by the court, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you provide here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Very good. Ms. Connolly, you may take it from here.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please state your legal name for the record.
Harold Nathan.
And you are the surviving spouse of Sherry NATO?
Yes.
Okay. And Sherry died on October 17th, 2022. Is that correct?
Yes.
Obviously, 4 years have not elapsed since her death. Is that correct?
Correct.
She was 77 years old and a resident of Fort Bend County, Texas. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you all own a home in Missouri City in Fort
Correct.
Bend County. Okay. All right. Now, Ms. Natho left a will dated July 21st, 2017. Is the court going to pull up the will, or would you like me to do that?
I can pull the will up.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna move this part of my screen over a little bit. There we go. Okay, now do you recognize that as Sherry Natho's signature?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and after she made this will in July of 2017, did she ever revoke it?
No.
Did she ever amend it?
No.
Did she have or adopt any children after she made this will?
She did not.
Did she become divorced or remarried after she made this will?
No.
In fact, you and she were married for many, many years until the time of her death, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Now you are named as independent executor in this will. Is that correct?
Correct.
And no state, government agency, or charity is named as a beneficiary under the will, correct?
That is correct.
All right. And to the best of your knowledge, are you qualified and not disqualified from serving as executor?
Yes, I am.
And are you asking the court to issue letters testamentary and to appoint you as independent executor to serve without bond and without appraisers?
I am.
Yeah, Your Honor, that's all I have.
All right. Court heard the testimony of Harold R. Natho. He testified as to the proof of death, validity of will, and other facts. The court will admit the will into probate and appoint Mr. Natho as independent executor to serve without bond, and appraisers will be waived as well. Mr. Natho, I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you, sir.
Ms.
Thank you,
Conley,
Judge.
anything further?
No, thank you. It's nice to see you and Happy New Year. Have a great day.
Happy New Year. Thank you. You have a great day as well.
Thank you. Bye.
I don't have anyone for that first case still. And you might want to reach out to them, see if they're going to be joining us.
I'll call him right now, Judge.
Ula, can you turn on your camera? Great. We want to point the camera to see Ula. There you go. Perfect. And your mute is still on. I think we're ready, Your Honor. Sorry
All right,
about.
Ms. Scovedall, can you hear me? I cannot hear you. I show your audio is connected. Are you able to hear them, Mr. Nguyen?
No, I am not, Your Honor.
Now?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you now. All right, let's go ahead and get started. We're on the record in 22 CPR 038491, Estate of Jorgen Skovdahl. Let's see, Ms. Skovdahl, if you'd raise your right hand to be sworn by the court. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you provide here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. I'm
Yes.
sorry, can you repeat that? We've lost your audio again.
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good. Okay, I can hear you now. Mr. Nguyen, you may take it from
But
here.
now we can, but now I can. Volume is up.
Thank you.
Can you
Your Honor.
hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
I can't hear them either.
Okay, well, we can't hear you now all of a sudden.
We can't hear you.
Can you hear us now?
Can you hear them? They're low.
I can't hear them. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Okay,
Let's try and see if you can hear me. I'll speak up, okay?
I can barely hear them.
Mhm.
when I hit this, okay.
Can you hear me still?
Yes. How about now? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you. I'm gonna have to flip back and forth on the microphone because every time we talk, we can't hear you for whatever reason, but we can hear you now.
Okay, so let's try it. Ula, could you please state your full name for the court?
Can't hear you, ma'am.
Try again. Repeat your answer.
Birgit Ulla Skovdahl.
Great, thank you. And were you well acquainted with the decedent Jorgen Skovdahl?
What do you need from us?
Were you well
What-
acquainted with the
What do I do
decedent?
now?
So, Ula, were you well acquainted with the decedent Jorgen Skovdahl?
Oh, okay, speak.
Could you repeat that, please?
Were you well acquainted with the decedent Jorgen Skovdahl?
Yes.
What was your relationship with the decedent Jorgen Skovdahl?
I was his wife for 55 years.
And did Mr. Skovdahl die on October 20th, 2022 in Missouri City, Fort Bend County, Texas? Could you please repeat your answer?
Okay, you guys are gonna have to give a second. There's gonna be a lag between you guys talking and us responding. So if you just give us 1 second between you guys talking and us responding, okay?
Okay.
Ask and repeat.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Did Mr. Skovdahl die on October 20th, 2022 in Missouri City, Fort Bend County, Texas?
Yes.
So that makes the date of Mr. Skovdahl's death less than 4 years ago. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Was Mr. Skovdahl a resident of Fort Bend County at the time of his passing?
Yes.
Now the court's going to show you the will that we filed with the court, and I'm going to ask you to take a look at it, okay?
Okay,
Ula, this document was dated April 8th, 2003. It is the original will of Mr. Jorgen Skovdahl. Is that correct?
yes, that's correct.
Your Honor, I ask the court to take judicial notice of the will that's on file.
Court shall take judicial notice.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Ula, to the best of your knowledge, did Mr. Skovdahl ever revoke this will?
No,
And is there a necessity for an administration in Mr. Skovdahl's estate?
no. No,
Ula, we need to transfer his assets out of his name to yours. Is that correct?
yes, that's correct.
So that would be an administration. So there's a need to do an administration of his estate. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And after the date of the will, were any children born or adopted by Mr. Skovdahl?
No,
And was a marriage of Mr. Skovdahl dissolved after the date of the will?
yes,
Did he have any divorce after he made that will?
no,
Did Mr. Skovdahl provide any gifts to the state of Texas or any political subdivision thereof or any charity?
no,
And the will appointed you as independent executor. Is that correct?
that's correct.
And you are qualified to serve as independent executor and to accept letters testamentary. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you are asking the court to appoint you today as the independent executor of the estate of Jorgen Skovdahl. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you, Ula. That's all I have for this witness, Your Honor.
All right. The court heard the testimony of Birgit Ula Skovdahl. She testified as to the proof of death, the will, and other facts. The court will admit the will under probate and appoint Ms. Skovdahl as independent executrix to serve without bond, and appraisers will be waived as well. Skovdahl, I'm very sorry for your loss.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you so much for your patience, Your Honor. Thank you. Have a good day.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is somebody appearing for Calvin Johnson on the Virginia Day matter? No, I found him. Never mind.
I'm glad to be able to see me.
You know what? I would be lost because of all this. I would never know what to do. That Zoom didn't work on my.
Mr. Johnson, good morning. If you could unmute yourself, please. Mr. Johnson, can you hear me?
Yes, Judge, I can hear you. Can you hear me, Judge?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Do you have the applicant and the witnesses there with you?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay, outstanding. All right, let's go ahead and get started then. We're on the record in 22 CPR 038071, State of Virginia Day. All those who intend to testify, if you would raise your right hand and be sworn by the court. Each of you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you provide here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
All right, very good. Mr. Johnson, you may take it from here.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to call Ms. Linda Day first. Ms. Day, would you please state your name, please?
Linda Day Lacy.
Okay, and you're the sister of the decedent, is that correct?
Yes.
Is it true that Ms. Day passed on May 18th of 2022 at the age of 67?
Yes.
She passed in Harris County, Texas?
Yes.
Okay. And your sister, she was an outstanding educator for over 40 years at Texas Southern University, is that correct?
Correct.
And you have my condolences, as I knew your sister for over those 40 years. At the time of her passing, did she have property that was in excess of $150,000 in Fort Bend County?
Yes.
And this court has jurisdiction and venue because she had a fixed place of residence in that county, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you are one of the heirs of Ms. Day, is that correct?
Correct.
And she had no children, none was adopted, and she was not married at the time of her death, is that correct?
Correct.
And who are your sister's heirs? Who are your brothers and sisters?
I would have Charles Edward Day, Wilford Day Jr., myself, Linda Day Lacy, my sister Helen Marie Winston, and Alfreda Day Harris.
Okay. And both of her parents are deceased, right? And the children, I'm sorry, her siblings are the only one that still live, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you have a pending application for administration, is that correct?
Correct.
And at the time of her death, you investigated her affairs and you found no will, is that correct?
Correct.
So you were saying she died intestate, is that correct?
Yes. Correct.
Okay. And let's see. And Judge, I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Ahmed, do you have any questions for this witness?
Yes, Ms. Day, how are you?
Great. How are you doing today?
I also want to share my condolences about Mrs. Day, your sister. I'll just ask one question. Was there ever a time that you discussed about drafting a will or any instructions or documents among the family members for Mrs. Day?
No.
Okay. I have no more questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Ahmed. Mr. Johnson, you may call your next witness.
Yes, Judge. I would like to call Mr. Dixon. Dixon, would you please state your name for the court, please?
Kelly Ray Dixon.
Okay. And how did you know Ms. Day?
I was their insurance agent for approximately 25 years.
Okay. And during that time, you knew she had no children?
That's correct.
And she was not married?
That is correct.
Did you ever discuss with her making a will?
We discussed it, but it was not anything that was really top on her priority list.
Okay.
Not having children, and so it was never done.
Okay. And final question: you are not paid any money for giving your testimony here today, correct?
No, absolutely.
Okay. I'll pass with you.
Ms. Ahmed.
Morning, Mr. Dixon. I think we spoke on the phone.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Finally.
Yes, how are you? Finally. So how long have you known the family?
37 years, I would say.
Okay.
I've been with the insurance company 37 years, and I met Virginia's mom, Pearline, and Wilford Day were some of the first clients I met, and so then I started meeting the family. So I've known them for a long, long time.
Okay, so would you say that you met Mrs. Day like on a regular basis, once a year or even more socially?
Yes, we did annual reviews. You talk Miss Virginia Day?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I believe there was a time you had just mentioned earlier that there was a discussion of her drafting a will or having a will or some instructions for her estate. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. Were you aware if she hired an attorney or drafted any document purported to
No,
be a will?
it was not a discussion of how to do one or anything like that. I just asked her if she had one, which is typical for what I do. And she said, no, I don't. I really don't have, I don't have any children. So that's not something that I'm worried with right now. But this was a long time ago.
Okay. And was there, you said that she didn't have any children. Were there any children that she maybe purported to raise as her own? Someone that you know of?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And in terms of where she lived, did she mostly live in Texas, or did she travel and move around?
From my knowledge, she lived in Texas, in Rosenberg. I mean, in Sugarland.
Okay. Was there ever a time you didn't see her for a long period of time, more than a year or so? You were consistent about meeting her?
Yes, ma'am. There was a period of time where I had gone more than a year. I took the agency manager's position in Wharton, Texas in 2010, and there was probably a couple of years in between there.
Okay. When was the last time that you met or spoke with her or communicated with Mrs. Day, obviously before she passed away?
Probably a year before she passed.
Okay. And then was there anything that was promised to you by Mrs. Day from her estate, or any item of value or importance to you
No, ma'am.
that you would inherit? Okay.
No, ma'am.
All right. I have no more questions, Your Honor. Pass the witness.
Mr. Johnson, you may call your next witness.
Yes, I'd like to come to Robert Day. Please state your name for the court, please.
Robert Day.
And how are you related to Miss Virginia Day?
I was her uncle.
Okay, so you were her uncle. So you've known her since birth?
From birth.
Okay. And are you aware whether or not she had any kids, adopted any kids, or was there any kids that she held out as her children?
No.
Okay. And there was no marriages that she had, is that correct?
That's
okay. Did you ever talk to her?
I'm having a hard time hearing the witness's answer.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you leave him, Mr. Day?
yeah.
Okay. Can you hear him now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, all right. Mr. Day, would you please repeat your answer? Did she have any kids that she adopted or held out as her children?
There's no.
Okay, speak loud so she can.
No.
Okay. And she was not married?
No.
Never has been married, is that correct?
No.
Okay. And how often would you see Virginia?
I would see her quite often. I see her at church. And I would see her quite often. I see her, I would say every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks, okay. And was there ever a time you discussed her having to make a will?
No.
You did not, okay. And is there anybody who paid you money to give your testimony this morning?
No.
No. I'll pass it on, Charlie.
Ms. Ahmed.
Hello, Mr. Day. How are you? I believe we spoke on the phone. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine.
Okay, good. Just to reiterate some points, there was never a time where Mrs. Day discussed having a will with you. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. If she had a will, would she have shared that information with you?
I'm sure she will.
Okay. Was there ever a time that you may have lost touch with her?
No.
Okay. You've been consistently meeting with her often over her lifetime?
Often.
Okay. And was there anything promised to you from the estate in exchange for this testimony?
No.
Okay. I have no more questions, Your Honor.
Your Honor, that is our testimony on the airship part of the case.
All right, after listening to testimony of Linda Day Lacy, Robert Day, and Kelly Dixon, the court finds that by clear and convincing evidence, the decedent's heirs are those listed in the judgment declaring heirship. I'm going to discharge Ms. Ahmed from her duties as attorney ad litem and award her a fee in the amount of $500. Is that correct, Ms. Ahmed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, Ms. Ahmed, you are free to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you all.
Mr. Johnson, do you have any further testimony for the administration now?
Yes, Your Honor, we do. Ms. Day, if I ask you any additional questions, mainly, are there debts or business that you have to take care on behalf of your sister, Ms. Virginia Day? The house has to be sold, is that correct?
Correct.
And you and your brothers and sisters have entered their waivers and would want you to serve as independent, is that correct?
Correct.
There is no reason that you would be disqualified from serving as the administrator for this estate, is that correct?
Right.
And you're asking this court to appoint you without bond and waive appraiser and have you serve as the independent administrator for your sister's estate?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I'll pass the witness.
Okay. All right, after listening to testimony of Linda Day Lacy, the court finds that the decedent died intestate and there's a necessity for the administration. The court will grant the request of the applicant and appoint Linda Day Lacy as independent administrator of the estate to serve without bond. Anything further for the record, Mr. Johnson?
No, Judge, I can just tell the court I had known Ms. Day for over 40 years. And in more recent years, we did discuss her making a will and she never did, but we had discussed that matter though. So I just wanted the court to know that I've known her for over 40 years and I never did draft one for her.
Well, thank you, Counselor, for letting me know that. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming in and say I'm sorry for y'all's loss.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
All right, y'all have a great day.
Thank you,
You
Judge.
too. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Mitchell was there earlier. Now he's gone.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Matthews. All right, let's go ahead and get started. We're on the record in 21 CPR 035973, estate of Ronald Francis Carnes. All those who intend to testify, Ms. Carnes, if you'd raise your right hand to be sworn by the court. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you provide here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Very good. Ms. Matthews, on this application to set aside exempt property, if you would just give me some testimony for the record.
Sure. I'm sorry. Linda, please introduce yourself to the court.
Hi, I'm Linda Carnes, the spouse of the deceased.
Okay, and your husband died sometime previously, is that correct?
Yeah, April 23rd, 2021.
Okay, and we filed this motion to set aside exempt property in March of 2022?
Correct.
Approximately? Okay, and you're asking the court to allow you to set aside property belonging to the estate consisting of a vehicle, household goods, furniture, furnishings, clothing, and personal items?
Yes.
And could you go into a little more detail regarding the vehicle that you want set aside, please?
It's a Toyota Sienna minivan.
And that would be the vehicle for your use and your family's use?
My use, yes.
Okay, and you have minor children living at home?
Yes, two.
All right, and that's all I have, Your Honor.
All right. Having heard the testimony, of Linda Carnes. I will grant the application to set aside exempt property, and the minivan is now for your use, Ms. Carnes.
Thank you.
All right. Anything further on this case? Ms.
Nothing, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Carnes, have a great day.
Thank you,
Thanks, you-
Linda.
Thank you.
I cannot locate your other client, Ms.
It's
Brack.
Brocker,
Brocker.
21 CPR.
No, I've got the case. I just cannot find her in the waiting room.
Oh, she's here with me.
Oh, all right. Let's go ahead and get started. We're on the record in 21 CPR 035-705, estate of Earl Richard Bracker, aka Earl Richard Rick Bracker. Ms. Bracker, if you raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony provided here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
Yes.
Very good. All right, Ms. Matthews, we are here today for another application to set aside exempt property, an application for family allowance, and an application for sale of personal property.
Yes.
Start with the set aside and work our way down.
Okay. Please introduce yourself to the court.
My name is Laura Bracker. I am the wife of the deceased who passed October 25th, 2020.
Okay. And we are asking the court to set aside for your use and your family's use the homestead at 10431 Caribou Court. Is that correct?
Yes.
And we are also asking the court to set aside a vehicle, household goods, furniture, furnishings, clothing, and personal items for your family's use.
Yes.
And the vehicle that you're asking to be set aside is the Honda Pilot.
Yes.
And you need these items to be set aside for you and your family. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that's all I have on this motion.
All right, I will grant the application, set aside the homestead and the vehicles as well. All right. We'll move on to the family allowance next. We're going to take next.
All right, Laura, you need a family allowance out of the surviving property in order to support yourself and your family. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you added up the amount of money that you need each month out of the property to be approximately $7,050.
That is correct.
And you've submitted an affidavit to the court listing your actual expenses totaling $7,050.
Yes.
Do you need me to go into those expenses, Your Honor?
Why don't you get them for the record?
Okay. And you have inadequate separate property of your own in order to provide for yourself and your minor child.
Inadequate.
Meaning you need this allowance.
Yes, yes, I do.
So we're requesting a court order to set aside $7,050 for a year totaling $84,604, that family allowance.
Yes.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
What's in the estate? How much?
Not that much.
The application is set to sell personal property is going to be used as partially fund her family allowance, but there's just not that much in there.
Is there even enough to cover a year?
Probably not.
No, so the expectation is that what we sell the property covers that and we're done.
If we'd like to also get his portion of the community property as well, but our first step was to get the family allowance. But we may need to come back to sell his or assign his community property to her as well. But that's another hearing for another day.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'll grant the family allowance as well.
Okay, and our remaining motion is to sell personal property to fund the family allowance. Laura, you're asking the court permission to sell some of your husband's personal items in order to make up the family allowance. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And you would like to sell the Ford F-150, a boat, Sun Tracker, and the trailer for the boat?
That's correct.
And you're asking if these personal property be sold at a private sale and applied to the family allowance?
Right. Correct.
All right, 1 minute. Let me pull that up. I'll grant that as well. Anything further?
Nothing further on this case, Your Honor.
All right. That concludes the hearing. Ms. Brecker, good luck to you.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
All right, thank you all. You have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. May we leave?
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
I'm gonna get caught up on signing some of this stuff real quick. So 1 minute. Good morning. Well, let me get you unmuted real quick. If you would unmute yourself, please. I just sent you a request.
Okay,
Good morning again.
good morning.
Welcome to County Court of Law number 1. I'm going to get us on the record and just go through a couple things real quick. We're on the record in 22 CPR 038088, guardianship of Russell Lee North. Miss North, welcome to County Court of Law number 1 into Fort Bend County. This case was transferred from DeWitt County. But I noticed when we were going through the file, my court staff noticed that the ward has been present in Fort Bend County for quite some time over at the Richmond State School.
Right, correct.
Okay. Well, in the process of going through everything as well, we had some issues trying to figure out the annual reporting date on this case, but we figured it out. Okay.
All right.
It is due on September 18th every
Okay.
year. The last report that we have on file from DeWitt County is it went through 8/19 of 2021. So although it was filed on 8/15 of 2022. So what we need from you is to file a report for last year. So from 8/19 of 2021 through 8/19 of 2022.
Just a minute, sir, just a second. Somebody just took my pen.
Okay,
Everything-
not a problem. I'll take your time. I'll wait.
Right with, oh my, here it is. Okay,
All right.
okay.
So what we're going to need is a report that's from 8/19 of 2021 through September 18th of 2022.
Mhm.
You can find the report that you need to utilize on the court's website in a PDF form.
Oh, Lord, just go slowly. I'm 90 years old. Give me.
Well, hopefully you have somebody helping you out.
I did have, but as soon as we got on, she left. So is there some way you can send that to me in an email or my
Yeah, we'll do that.
Email
Annie,
or
if you
something?
if you would send Miss North an email outlining what's going to be due. And then, of course, it's just going to be due every year.
Right.
But it looks like you've done that every year.
Yes.
that, Mr. North has been in the Richmond State School, so it shouldn't be an issue. The only difference is going to be that it's a different form.
All right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do you have any questions?
No, I guess, will the amount be about the same? It's like $18 or something like that, or?
Something like that, I believe. Andy, do you know the exact amount that's due on that?
Judge, it's a $10 fee for the annual report and a $2 fee for the order. And then if she'd like to order a certificate, that's an additional $2. So that's generally $14.
Right, yes, I usually end up getting it 1 or 2 more. Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, Miss North, welcome again. And
Thank you.
we'll be in touch with you. Miss Ayala will be emailing you those items that we need. Okay.
All right.
All right. Have a great day. You're free to go.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Porter, good morning.
Good morning, George. How are you?
Good. Who's going to be providing testimony today on this case?
I have one witness, Bridget Rubin.
Bridget Rubin. Okay.
Yes.
Right now.
Also, we have an observer, Gina Bowl. She's one of our new attorneys.
Gina Bowl. I don't have a Gina Bowl. I have a Cassandra Bonilla. And I
Yeah,
have
Cassie Bonilla is also one of our attorneys. She's be observing as well.
okay, and I have a Demetria Foster observing as well.
Oh, she's not providing testimony. She's just
okay.
No, no worries. Let's see if she's in. Let me see if she's on. She's supposed to be observing.
You want me to wait on that other attorney to show up?
No, I think we can go ahead. She may be watching the live stream, Judge, to be quite honest with you.
Okay.
Go ahead and get started.
All right, then let's go ahead and get started. We're on the record in 21 CPR 035897, guardianship of Shane Wiltz. Ms. Rubin, if you would raise your right hand to be sworn by the court. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you provide here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Very good. All right, Mr. Porter, you may proceed with your prove up.
Thank you, Your Honor. First, I'd like to ask the court to take judicial notice of HHSC's application in this matter with its attached certificate of medical examination.
The court shall take judicial notice.
Mr. Rubin, please state your full name.
Bridget Rubin.
And how are you employed?
As a guardianship specialist with Health and Human Services.
And how long have you been in that capacity?
2 years and 1 month.
Okay. Have you had any special training to become a guardianship specialist?
Yes.
And as a guardianship specialist, do you meet the legal requirement necessary to be appointed as an agent of the Health and Human Services Commission?
Yes, I do.
Are you familiar with the proposed ward in this matter, Shane Wiltz?
Yes.
And how did you become familiar with Shane?
Through monthly visits with him since October of 2021.
Okay. Where and how was he living when he came to your attention?
He was in extended foster care with DFPS in a foster home.
Okay. And where is he currently residing?
Off of Durango Canyon and Katy, 77494.
And is that address located within Fort Bend County, thereby under the jurisdiction and venue of this court?
Yes.
Okay. How old is Shane?
He is 19 years old.
Okay. And the court appointed an attorney ad litem in this matter for Shane?
Is Kristen Lee Schultz.
Okay, thank you. Did HHSC receive a certificate of medical examination dated March 19th, 2021, conducted by Dr. April A. Ramirez regarding Shane?
Yes.
And according to that CME, did Dr. Ramirez find Shane to be totally incapacitated and in need of a guardian?
Yes.
Did Dr. Ramirez also find that Shane would need assistance with his activities of daily living?
Yes.
Okay. Were alternatives to guardianship and available supports and services considered to avoid guardianship in this matter?
Yes.
Okay. And are there any alternatives to guardianship or supports and services available or feasible to Shane to avoid the need for guardianship?
I'm sorry, repeat your answer.
At this time.
Again, please.
No, not at this time.
Thank you.
Would it be in Shane's best interest to have the court appoint a guardian of his person?
Yes,
And is guardianship the least restrictive alternative to ensure Shane's safety?
What is the answer?
yes.
Thank you.
Lastly, what are you as guardianship specialist asking the court to do today?
Grant full guardianship of the person.
Pass it with us, Your Honor.
Schultz,
Good morning, Judge.
good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Rubin. On April 28th, 2021, the application for appointment of permanent guardian was filed in this case for Shane Wiltz. And has anything significantly changed since that application?
No, it has not.
Thank you. The Texas Health and Human Service Commission is asking the court to appoint a representative guardian for the person of Shane Wiltz today, and that would be you at this time. Is that correct?
Time out, Miss Schultz. We have lost Miss Rubin.
Oh,
Connected. She seems like she had a poor connection to begin with. Here, she's coming back on. 1 minute. Miss Rubin, are you there?
There was a connection problem, but it came back.
All right, let's try that again. Miss Schultz, repeat your
sure.
question.
Ms. Rubin, excuse me. The Texas Health and Human Services Commission is asking the court today to appoint a representative guardian of Shane Wiltz for the person. Is that correct? And that would be you. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you. Shane's mother, named Clarissa Wiltz, is deceased, and the parental rights of the proposed ward's father were terminated by court order on December 5th, 2007. Is that correct to your knowledge?
We lost her again.
Let's give her a second, see if she comes back on.
There she is.
That is correct.
Great. So you did hear my question. We lost you for a second. So you did hear my question about Miss Clarissa Wiltz, the proposed ward's mother, and his father. The parental rights were terminated. Is that correct? The answer you're replying?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Rubin. Shane's only known family is an adult sibling, Jerome Wiltz, and he was sent notices of these proceedings at his last known address on November 3rd, 2022. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And Mr. Jerome Wiltz has not responded to that notice. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So based upon your knowledge, Mr. Jerome Wiltz.
Give her a minute. She's back.
Hi, Ms. Rubin. Are you able to hear me now? Ms. Rubin?
I'm here.
Okay. So based upon your knowledge, Mr. Jerome Wiltz, Shane's brother, does not maintain contact with Shane. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. You are aware that if the court does appoint you today as representative guardian, that Shane won't be able to vote, own a firearm, drive, or even choose his own residence. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And Mr. Porter mentioned the certificate of medical examination that was provided by Dr. Abril Ramirez, submitted to this court.
She's dropped again. This is going to take a while. Just hang tight.
Hello, Ms. Rubin. Are you back with us?
Your last question?
Okay, sure. Mr. Porter mentioned the certificate of medical examination from Dr. Abril Ramirez, and it was submitted to this court wherein Dr. Ramirez stated that Shane is totally without capacity to care for himself. Do you think that this is consistent with your history and knowledge of Shane?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. If the judge finds Shane to be incapacitated today, you must update the court if there is any change of circumstances and provide an annual report to the court. Are you aware of this requirement?
Yes, I am.
Okay. The purpose of seeking guardianship today of Shane is to give the Texas Health and Human Services Commission and you as his personal representative guardian the ability to continue to advocate and
In 1 minute. All you can do is laugh in these circumstances.
Yeah, it's the way of the world today. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Respect.
Ms. Rubin.
It was going out again. Can you please repeat that question?
Sure.
Sorry.
The purpose of seeking guardianship today of Shane is to give the Texas Health and Human Services Commission and you as his personal guardian the ability to continue to advocate, care for him, and not control. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, no further questions. Thank you. Pass the witness.
Mr. Porter, any further questions?
No, sir. No questions.
All right. After listening to testimony of Bridget Rubin, the court finds by clear and convincing evidence that Shane Wiltz is totally incapacitated and in need of a guardian with full authority over the person. Court finds that a guardianship is warranted and appoints Texas Health and Human Services Commission as guardian of the person of the proposed ward. Bonds waived. And I'm going to discharge Ms. Schultz from her duties as attorney ad litem and award her a fee in the amount of $522.50. Is that correct, Ms. Schultz?
That is correct, Judge. Thank you.
Yeah, and the county will pay for that.
Fantastic.
All right. Although I did notice your order that you submitted, you will need to submit a different order. Annie will provide you with that order. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Anything further for the record, Mr. Porter?
No, sir, Your Honor.
All right, then. Very good. Y'all have a great day. Normally I would go through all the stuff that's required after you're appointed guardian, but I'm not worried under these circumstances, nor do we need to continue this long drawn out hearing. Have a great one.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Graham.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, Ms. Ahmed. Again.
Good morning, Your Honor. I forgot to wish you a happy new year and congratulations on your elections.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And happy new year to you as well. And now we are waiting on the parent to connect. There we go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you just fine.
Okay.
All right, wonderful.
Good
All right,
morning.
let's go ahead and get started. We're on the record in 22 CPR 037821, guardianship of, and I apologize if I mispronounce this, Anju Desai.
Anuj.
Anuj Desai, my apologies. If each of you would raise your right hand to be sworn by the court, you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you provide here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
Yes, I do.
Very good. All right, Ms. Graham, why don't you get us started?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to call Mr. Desai. Mr. Desai, would you please state your name for the court?
Gaurang Desai.
And is it true that you and your wife, Preeti Desai, filed in good faith an application to allow you to be appointed as co-guardians of the person of your son, Anuj?
Yes.
And Anuj is your biological son, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And how old is he?
18 years now.
And is it true that his birthday is March 4th, 2004?
Yes.
And at this time, he currently resides in Fort Bend County with you, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And outside of the proceeding we have here today, there's never been a guardianship on Anuj, is that true?
Yes.
Okay. And is anyone besides you and your wife seeking to be appointed as Anuj's guardian?
Not yet.
Right, and has Anuj ever signed a medical power of attorney or a financial power of attorney?
No.
And would he be able to understand what those documents are?
He won't understand by himself.
And he was served with notice of today's proceeding, is that correct?
Yes.
And you also have two other children who are Anuj's siblings, is that right?
Yes.
And could you state their names, please?
Anika Desai is a twin sister, and Anis Desai is an older son, my older brother.
And they both are aware that you've applied to be the guardian and they signed waivers, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And so there's no one else that would be entitled to notice besides the siblings and you and your wife who are here today, is that correct?
Yes.
And is it true that Anuj is diagnosed with severe cerebral palsy?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And is it true that he is totally incapacitated?
Yes.
Your Honor, we'd ask that the court admit the physician's certificate of medical exam by Dr. Knoble dated February 11th, 2022.
Well, I take judicial notice of the physician certificate that is on file.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes.
Mr. Desai, have you and your wife considered other supports and services that would maybe allow you to avoid the need for a guardianship?
No.
No.
Well, we've talked about those financial powers of attorney, and you said that's not appropriate for your son. Is that correct?
Pardon, can you repeat that question?
Let me ask you that question again. Is there anything besides a guardianship that would be feasible for Anuj with his diagnosis? Or is guardianship the only opportunity for you to take care of him?
Yes.
Okay. And are you asking the court today to appoint you and your wife as co-guardians of his person?
Yes, ma'am.
And is it true that you are also seeking the right to determine Anuj's residence because he cannot make that decision for himself?
Yes.
And is it true that he is also unable to manage his finances, operate a motor vehicle, vote in a public election, make decisions about marriage?
Yes.
And is it true that he requires assistance just to do the normal activities of daily living, like eating, bathing, and showering?
Yes.
And to the best of your knowledge, are you qualified to be Anuj's guardian?
Yes.
Is there any reason that you would be disqualified to serve?
No.
And are you asking the court to set the bond as minimally as possible?
Yes.
I pass the witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Ahmed.
Yes, hello, Mr. Desai. How are you? I'm Farah Ahmed. I think we spoke via Zoom. I met you and your wife and Anuj. So
Yes,
I
ma'am.
remember that call. All right. I just want to ask a little bit in terms of financial support for Anuj. You take care of him on a daily basis. That's correct. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am.
In terms of financial support, you're covering all his expenses that he has?
Yes.
Okay. Does he have any income or revenue or assets at this time?
No.
Okay. And then you understand that you have the duty to care for his emotional and medical needs, just like you did for him when he was a minor.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And then you know that there are obligations. If you're a guardian, you will have to file a report within your appointment. You'll have to file a report within 60 days. And then there's an annual report also due. You understand that obligation. Is that true?
Right.
Yes.
Okay. And then, of course, if you're going to move Anuj or relocate with him, you will have to notify the court.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there anyone that you know in the family or your children that might object to having you appointed as Anuj's guardian?
No.
Okay. I have no more questions, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Graham, you may call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to call Ms. Desai. Ms. Desai, would you please state your name for the court?
Pretty Desai?
And you also filed an application with your husband to be appointed as Anuja's co-guardian, is that correct?
Yes.
And did you hear all of the questions I asked your husband about Anuj and his abilities?
Yes, I did.
And if I asked you the same questions, would your answers be the same as his?
Yes.
And do you agree with Anuj's condition as described in the physician's certificate of medical exam?
Yes.
To the best of your knowledge, are you qualified to be his co-guardian?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any reason that you would be disqualified from serving as Anuj's guardian?
No.
And are you also asking the court to set a bond as minimally as possible?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. I pass the witness.
Ms. Ahmed.
Yes, Mrs. Desai, I just wanted to make sure that you understand the obligations that you have as a court-appointed and approved guardian, if that happens, so happens, okay. And that you do have to file an annual report.
Yes.
Okay.
And you understand that you're responsible for the care and needs for Anuj as you took care of him when he was a child.
Yes, ma'am.
I have no more questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Graham, anything further?
No, Your Honor.
All right, after listening to testimony, the court finds by clear and convincing evidence that Anuj Desai is totally incapacitated in need of a guardian with full authority over the person. I'm going to find that a guardianship is warranted and appoint Gaurang Desai and Priti Desai as guardian of the person of the proposed ward. I'm going to set bond at $50 each, so a total of $100. And then I'm going to discharge Ms. Ahmed from her duties as attorney ad litem. And I show you have a fee in the amount of $562.50. Is that correct, Ms. Ahmed?
Yes, Your Honor.
And is that agreed to, Ms. Graham?
It is, Your Honor, and this is one of the Brazos County guardianship scholarship cases.
Is it? Okay.
Yes, sir.
The county will pay for it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Anything further for the record, Ms. Graham?
No, sir. Thank you.
Mr. and Mrs. Desai, just want to remind you that you will have to file a report each and every year on the anniversary of y'all's appointment. So about this time next year, you're going to have to file a report on the well-being of Anuj. You can find, bless you, you can find the report, a copy of the form that you're going to utilize on the court's website in PDF format with instructions as well. It's pretty self-explanatory, but if you do have any questions, I'm sure your attorney would be able to be happy to help you out, or you can contact the court as well, and we'll try to walk you through any questions you may have on the form.
Okay.
Good luck to y'all. Nothing really
Thank you.
changes. You continue to care for your son, just as you always will, or always were. So have a great day.
You
Thank
take
you,
Your
Your
Honor.
Thank you, Your
Thank
Honor.
you. Thank you, Ms. Ahmed. Thank you, Ms. Graham.
Thank you.
Who's David Morris? Annie?
I would imagine he would be on the Yelderman case, possibly. I didn't anticipate any other attorneys coming on.
Let me find out. Cool, man. Good morning, Ms. Upchurch.
Good morning, Judge.
Mr. Morris, are you here for the Yelderman case? Mr. Morris, can you hear me? Mr. Morris, can you hear me? Ms. Upchurch, do you know if Mr. Morris is here on the Yelderman?
I was trying to check that, Judge. I don't believe so.
Okay. Mr. Morris, can you hear me? Mr. Morris. can
Judge,
you hear
he
me?
is an attorney.
On
He
what
is an
case?
attorney he represents several of the heirs.
I apologize, Judge. I didn't recognize that.
He represents Michaela, Neil, William, and
Oh,
Tracy.
oh, I apologize, Judge. These are the heirs.
Yeah.
Of one of the heirs that died after the judgment declaring heirship.
Sure. Let's make sure he can hear us. Mr. Morris, are you there? Mr. Morris, can you hear me? Mr. Morris, can you hear me? All right, I'm going to send him a chat. Mr. Morris, are you there? Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris, can you hear
I
me?
can't hear anybody.
Man, let's see.
I can't hear anybody and I don't know why.
Sure. I just sent him a message to turn his volume up. That might be the case. Mr. Morris, can you hear us? Mr. Morris. Annie, while we're waiting on Mr. Morris to connect, the first case on our docket, nobody is here on that. I made you a co-host. You can see the waiting room. Mr. Mitchell is not present, nor is Mr. LaGrasta. That'll be passed unless they show up before we're done with this docket. With this,
I'll reach out to him one more time, Judge.
Mr. Morris, can you hear us? Oh.
Let me get a second. Hey, Demi, can you come here, please? I can't hear the audio.
Mr. Morris, can you hear me? Mr. Morris, you there?
He has someone coming in to help, Judge.
I hear that. I'm just checking to see. Mr. Morris, are you there? Mr. Morris?
When I tested it, I had it.
I have speakers and everything.
Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris, you there?
I'm wondering, Judge, if he needs to get off and sign back in.
That might be the case. There's probably two things going on. One, his volume's not turned up properly, or two, he's got his as the output, he's got his input connected by accident. That sometimes happens as well. So his microphone might be acting as a speaker, which it's incapable of doing. That sometimes happens in Zoom. The other option is to disconnect and reconnect.
Somebody's talking.
See if there's one on that side.
Can anyone hear me?
I can hear you.
I still can't hear them.
Mr. Morris.
Somebody.
Mr. Morris. Annie, would you call Mr. Morris's office and tell him to disconnect and reconnect?
Yes, yes, Judge. And we got Mr. Mitchell on the line finally.
I see him in the waiting room. I'll tell you what, we'll pull him in. We'll take care of that real quick while we're waiting on Mr. Morris to disconnect and reconnect.
I'll let him know now, Judge.
Miss
Thank you.
Upchurch, just hang tight.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
This is Scott Mitchell.
Mr. Mitchell, you there?
Yes, sir.
All right. I've sent you a request to start your video. Do you have your applicant with you there?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, there we go. Outstanding. All right, let's go ahead and get started before you get dropped again.
Thank you, Judge. This
On the
concerns
record,
your-
and we're on the record in 22 CPR 038347, the state of Karen Yates LaGrosta. If I could have the applicant raise his right hand, you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony provided here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
I do.
Very good. You may proceed, Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could you please state your name?
Judge,
Oh, Mr. Mitchell, you're breaking up. I need you to repeat that question.
LaGrosta at the time of her death?
Oh, hold on. Mr. Mitchell, I need you to repeat that question. You were breaking up.
Okay. Were you married to decedent Karen Yates LaGrosta at the time of her death?
Yes.
Died on August 20, Texas at the age of 62, correct?
could you repeat that, please?
Yes. Karen died on August 21st, 2022 in Fort Bend County, Texas at the age of 62, correct?
Yes.
So was the date of her death less than 4 years ago?
Yes.
Was Karen a resident of Fort Bend County at the time of her death?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm going to request the court to take judicial notice of the original will that was filed with the court.
Court shall take judicial notice.
Mr. LaGrosta, I'm going to show you a document, which is a copy of the will, which was purportedly filed in her case. Could you examine this document and see if it looks familiar?
Looks complete.
And the signature is her signature?
Yes.
Is there a necessity for an administration of Karen's estate?
Yes.
After the date of the will on January 13th, 2021, were any children born to or adopted by Karen?
No.
Was any marriage of Karen dissolved after the date of the will?
No.
Did Karen's will provide direct gifts to the state of Texas or political subdivisions thereof or any charity?
No.
This will appoints you, Stephen Michael LaGrosta, as Karen's independent executor with the approval of the court. Are you qualified to serve as such and accept letters testamentary?
Yes.
Did Karen apply for and receive Medicaid benefits on or after March 1st, 2005?
No.
Your Honor, I pass the witness.
All right, the court heard the testimony of Stephen Michael LaGrosta. He testified as to the proof of death, validity of the will, and other facts. The court will admit the will into probate, appoint Mr. LaGrosta as independent executor to serve without bond, and appraisers will be waived as well. Mr. LaGrosta, I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you very much, Judge.
All right. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. One. Mr. Morris, can you hear me?
I still can't hear him.
Judge, could we have Mr. Morris call into the hearing so that he gets the audio through a phone call?
No, the way this system is set up, you have.
For some reason, I cannot hear you, but I would indicate that I have read all of the matters this morning, and I think that they have done a fine job and do not have any objections.
Okay. Well, then let's go ahead and get started. We're on the record in 77 CPR 006753, State of Carolyn Yelderman. I want the record to reflect that Mr. Morris is here and present for the Zoom hearing. However, he is having audio issues with his connection and is unable to hear the proceeding. However, he has indicated to the court and to Ms. Upchurch and all those present that he has no objection to the final accountings that have been, all the accountings that have been filed by Ms. Upchurch. And we are going to proceed with that. It's my, Ms. Upchurch, I have a 2022 or 2020, 2021 and 2022 accountings that need to be approved. Is that correct?
Yes, Judge.
And we're going to go ahead and finally close this out.
Thank you, Judge. As soon as we've got those orders signed, we will submit the application to close the estate and an order for that.
Okay, those orders will be signed today, so we can go ahead and wrap this up and close this off my books.
Thank you very much, Judge. We'd
And
like
your
to
books
close
as
it off.
well.
Yes.
All right. Anything for the record with regards to those accountings, Ms. Upchurch?
No, Judge. Thank you very much.
All right, under the circumstances, let's wrap this up. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, Mr. Morris.
Thank you.